Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, Revenge Career, where we turn your worst work nightmares into the sweetest revenge. I'm JT.
And I'm Danny.
So good to have you back, girl. Let's get right into it. I want to go right to these career cringes because these cringes of the week are pretty nasty. So tell me about yours.
Yeah, so this actually happened like last week or 2 weeks ago, but casinos out in Vegas got hit with some AI and some cyber attacks. And I'm sorry, like casinos have the craziest security. So if this is happening there, I worry. But
Facts.
this cringe in particular, the part that got me is like the MGM places, they had this technique, and it's this new version of we know it as phishing, but now it's called vishing, so voice phishing. Because and they also use social engineering, which, well, that's really manipulating a person into revealing sensitive information. So just to give you some background on that, but in this case, hackers allegedly used publicly available LinkedIn information to impersonate an employee from the MGM and trick someone on the IT department help desk to revealing, access credentials. And so this is where the world of AI, I think, really starts to get a little terrifying, because if you're talking about voice phishing, where someone can imitate your voice, like someone could imitate us off of this podcast,
Yeah.
I think that that's where AI is going to really start, like, we're going to see a lot of dangerous things out there. And if they're breaking into casinos for money and IT security breaches, that really anything is possible. So that was the part that kind of cringed me out, was just like, oh my gosh, the voice phishing.
100%. So it's funny because I did hear about the hacks, but I did not hear about this.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn that cannot be good for LinkedIn, right?
No.
But it's gonna keep happening. We're not gonna get away from this. This is how people's minds work. Let me see what I can hack into. And I'm with you. I mean, of course, I think of all the Oceans movies and how they had to break through all the security. Wow.
Exactly.
So now there's going to be like a vishing episode in one of these. Oceans 28.
Right. It's going to you're going to be like, oh, AI is coming into movies now. Cool.
Yeah. It's insane. I know. I have to. So scary. It's funny. I actually, one of my shout outs is about the positive sides of AI. So I'm going to balance that one out. Your cringe with something positive, hopefully. But my cringe of the week is about ghost jobs. So the Wall Street Journal reported on this a couple of months ago, and it's continuing. It just really blows my mind. And the reason it gets me upset is because of some things that are happening right now. So basically, ghost jobs are posting jobs, but you're not really hiring. And 33, something like that, % of the people that are posting the job said they're doing it because their staff is so short-staffed. They wanted their staff to think like they were looking for people to help relieve their overworked selves, but they're not. They're not really hiring. They're just pretending to hire so people think, and they're saying, "Oh, we can't find the good people. We're struggling to get help," but they're not. They're just posting these jobs to make them think that they are. That is awful, But we know, as people who work every day with job seekers, applying to jobs and never hearing back is like a common occurrence.
Yeah.
And this contributes to it. If the jobs aren't real, who's going to message you back? Nobody.
Yeah.
But what upsets me more now is that a recent report by CNBC came out that said our unemployment rate's not 3.8%, it's 7.1. And that's because the 3.8% reflects anybody that has a job. So if you got a part-time job, you're working. If you're in a job that's like 3 levels below what you normally do for work, you're underemployed, but you're working. So 7.1.
That's the 3.8 number?
Yeah, the 3.8
number. Totally unemployed people is 3.8.
Yes, exactly. Okay. But we're already at 7.1 when you put in the people that are working part-time jobs but aren't making what they needed to make. Or, you know what I'm saying? So that's climbing. And if you think about it, if we're out here saying there's a whole bunch of jobs that aren't real, when, like a perfect storm is emerging, which really upsets me. It makes me nervous for people, what's happening out there. So I think anybody listening to this, if you're going, gee, what's wrong with me? Why is it so hard for me to get a job right now? Unemployment rate is 3.8% and there's a ton of jobs out there. Not really.
Yeah.
I want you. And what that means is you're going to have to get more strategic in your
Mhm.
job search, right? Because you can find a job, you will find a job. I don't want to be total doom and gloom here. I just
Yeah.
want people to have the facts
Yeah.
because they're not seeing them for what they are,
Right. I mean, that's just wild in terms of like and the whole ghosting situation. Yeah, we hear it constantly in the work at daily community. It's definitely one of those things. And so you wonder why workers are so frustrated between ghosted jobs, ghost jobs, and then on top of that, everything like spam jobs are out there. People are like, yeah, it's
Oh, like
are
you're
we
you're kind
surprised
of
the workers are upset?
I know, and the scams, like kind of using AI, like the scams that are happening, people
Yeah.
are getting, job offers that are fake.
Yeah,
There's just a lot to, you're right. There's a lot to be negative and skeptical about when you see that for
there
sure.
is. But
And
but we know there's light on the other end of the tunnel. So
totally.
that's the only thing is like I'm always very hopeful knowing that we're going to help change the attitude and again get more strategic. You have to with the nature of the way this is all happening.
I agree. Which
Yeah.
leads us into the good stuff, the
Yes.
positive stuff, the shout outs. So I'm curious, what's your shout out this week?
Yeah, so my shout out is actually to the WGA, the Writers Guild of America. I want to just I it's so funny that we talk about employment and being a business of one. We constantly reiterate that in the community, but I'm so proud of this because, unions are not something that is wildly relevant anymore. Like there's still unions there, obviously, like, there's teachers, the writers, actors, there's a lot of groups out there, but with that being said, uh when these unions have situations like strikes, it always is so tough for me because I was in a government job that also had a union, but you have to play this weird game constantly. And so I want to really just support this and have it just be a sheer celebration for the WGA because I think overall, I know that a lot of us miss our late night shows, but the other piece of that is ultimately writer, like you need to stand for what makes sense in your career. You need to stand behind what you think is right and what you know to be of value. And writers are right there. They're the unsung heroes of these late night people. They're the ones making the jokes. They're the ones writing the scenes. It's like, and so just give credit where credit is due. So I really just want to again say congratulations to the WGA. After 148 days on strike, they have finally been able to reach a tentative agreement. I know they're still working through everything and with the actors union too, but just a sheer, congratulations to that union because I think that's exciting that they've really been able to step up and get what they deserve. And then also just in the nature of AI, as we're talking about today, seems to be a theme. Um, there's criteria now inside their contracts that state how, a robot's not a writer.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure if anyone's using ChatGPT, many of us are, you'll notice it does okay, but it's not great.
No, it's fascinating and it's funny. So being married to a pilot
Mm,
for 26 years, like he's in a union.
yes,
Like you said, there's one of the few left,
true.
and there's been several occasions where he's like, "Hey, get ready. We could be on strike."
Right.
Um, and so, but you also see how they've like helped them like with a lot of like health and safety issues and things like that too, right? So obviously we always think about unions helping you make more money and protecting you that
Right.
way, but and where there still are unions, they're there to help them on all aspects. So
Exactly.
it is good to see that it's over. I'm sure they don't want to be out of work and not being paid for that long. Like
Yeah.
that's hard. That's a hard bullet to bite.
Yeah, could you imagine not getting paid for 148 days?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's
It's
hard.
tough.
So
I mean, granted, entrepreneurs are out there. I see you, but
yeah.
but yes. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a lot.
No, I get it. I totally get it. It's great. So
How about
my
you?
shout outs, it's funny because my shout outs, first of all, like to me, this was like the silver lining to AI
Mm,
and this where it's sort of headed. And uh, of all people, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, who's pretty
mm,
controversial. And some people like him, a lot of people don't like some of the things he said. But here's where I think he said something interesting. He said, ultimately, while we're going to lose jobs from AI, which is true, right?
mhm.
We're definitely going to lose jobs. There's going to be some temporary pain here where there's a crunch. Ultimately, the next generation is probably going to have a 3.5 day work week.
Ugh,
AI is going to create it so that you really have work life balance where half the week you're working, and you're working doing the higher level stuff that AI can't do, which is
Mhm.
far more interesting. Like you
Yeah.
said, writers, not a bot.
Yeah.
But that's where work-life balance will come from, because people won't work these
Mhm.
long, crazy hours. And if you look at history, when we formalized, like the industrial revolution, people were
Mm.
working crazy hours, 60, 70, and then unions mandated a 40-hour work week. And that's where we came up with the 40-hour work week.
Right.
And we see that moving down. There are companies trying 4-day work weeks, 35-hour work weeks like we have.
Mhm.
And he said it's really going to be driven by the, remote work and that sort of thing. So I see that as a silver lining, that AIs could eventually get us to a place where, yes, we're going to lose some jobs, but I think we're going to gain some more interesting jobs. We're always evolving. There's always new jobs being created, folks. There's always new industries being built. So I know there's a lot of negative, but I kind of like that idea of people eventually only working 3.5 days a week and still living great lives, not at the sacrifice of salary, for example.
Yeah. I do think that's interesting that you bring that up, and I would agree. I mean, I think it's one of those things where AI is gonna allow you to get those monotonous things done. Those, like, you're like, "Oh gosh, okay, let's just get it over with."
Yeah.
But those more intelligent conversations, those higher level, tasks that really matter to companies, that's where you're gonna be able to get creative and be
Yeah.
able to, like, get that ideation that's really exciting. And to your point, I mean, I remember, because obviously we're a bit older, but we talked growing up in the age of gaining the internet, gaining email, and all I remember is, like, I don't know why this sticks in my head, but I remember this silly conversation of, oh my gosh, email is going to be the end of the postal service, and I'm like, the postal service is still here. Like, things change. Yes, there's a crunch, but there's also just so much opportunity that comes from. And like, as we know, like, we've been through a couple recessions, obviously, in our years, and so you find out quickly what's going to fall to the wayside that just isn't the jobs that anyone, like, for a reason. No one wants those jobs for a reason.
Yeah.
And so AI, I think, to your point, the work weeks, 3.5 days is, I mean, that's
Pretty
exciting.
cool.
It's like
That's pretty
4-day work week
cool,
sounds great.
right? That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and a half hour, 4 hours on Friday or whatever. Like, that's pretty
Right?
cool.
You never
Uh,
have to do the dreaded Monday again.
no, but then my question is, does the dreaded Monday become the dreaded Tuesday? Like, is it
Probably.
just going to be hard to roll back in? I don't
You're
know.
always gonna find some sort of
Yeah,
let me whoa about this.
get back into it. I don't know. But I just think that's pretty interesting and
Yeah,
encouraging for people to hear that we
definitely.
could go that way. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe it'll happen sooner. They're saying next generation, but maybe it'll happen
Yeah.
now. I don't
Well,
know
I
what that's saying.
mean, isn't Europe already, they trialed that 4-day work week
Some
and
of
they
them
had
did,
great
sure.
success.
And I think I heard someplace like 80% of them are sticking with it. The companies are
That's
sticking with it. So
Yeah,
that's
see, I
kind of
mean,
encouraging.
it could be coming faster than that next generation, as you said.
Yeah, we'll see. Listeners, keep us posted. Let us know if you're doing that now. That'd be
Yeah.
good. All right, let's get into it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
cannot wait. It is the work woe to win. What is the work woe to win of the week? If you can say that 5 times fast, like I just did, you're a hero. That's a lot of W's. What do you
Yeah.
got for us?
I cannot do that, unfortunately. But but this week's disaster, it comes, pretty much the tail of it all is probation problems. So if you ever had a probationary period at work, this story is probably going to be something similar to what you may have seen or dealt with. So let's jump in. This listener embarked on a journey to work at their alma mater, actually, a university that was halfway across the country from where they lived. Um, and the excitement of landing an assistant administrator role was soon overshadowed by the following stress and uncertainty. So, after a prolonged hiring process, this person finally took on a job determined to excel. They poured their heart and soul into this. If I could tell you how much I had to cut down this summary on how much they were doing, it's incredible. Like, they should have been gone before this.
Way more than three and a
Companies
half
that don't
days a
pay
week.
them. But always completing tasks promptly and maintaining open communication with the supervisors, the managers, taking on those extra work tasks on how to provide their value. The catch: the supervisor frequently worked remotely, leaving this individual to run the office. As time passed, the supervisor's distant demeanor raised concerns about job security. When finally this person mustered up the courage to ask if they'd be around in a year, the response by the manager was an unsettling, "I don't know." So determined to prove themselves even more, this person takes on even more responsibilities, including overseeing a significant campus event. Like that is a lot.
Yeah.
But with the event just weeks away and the probation that they were on ending soon, they had a 3-month probation, just so you all know. These concerns, obviously, about job security are now well and apparent. They scheduled, or there just ends up being a mysterious meeting being scheduled by the supervisor, and in that conversation, they extended the probationary period, providing no apparent reason to this person. And despite their proficient performance, they couldn't escape the feeling of just unease going forward. Obviously, how would you not? During a follow up meeting, the supervisor confirmed that her competence was well and good, but remained cryptic about the real reason behind, the probation extension. When they took a much needed personal day, uh, it was actually their last day on the job. They just terminated. So HR's call did not explain the abrupt dismissal and just chalked it up to being under probation and not needing a reason for the termination. To this day, the mystery lingers, and this person is navigating the job market with 6 months of unexplained experience.
Oh,
So, JT, with all of that said,
yeah.
what's the
Oh,
moment of
painful.
accountability here?
So, so much of this, like, there were so many MOAs in that. So, for
Mm,
those of you, if you're first time listening to us, MOAs are moments of accountability. We really believe that it's important if you're going to get through a workplace woe like this and survive it and turn it into the sweetest revenge in your career. You've got to own a moment in the situation that you can look back and say, should have done this differently. Not saying you did anything wrong. You did what you
right.
thought was right in the moment. So, we're never going to say you
Exactly.
did anything wrong. But you do want to look and go, okay, I need to learn from this. I'm going to take my power back and
Yeah.
learn from this. And I think the fact that the person was not around and so disengaged
Mm,
was a concern for me because you're in your probationary period where, and for those of you that aren't clear, that like usually there's a 90-day probationary period where a company can let you go for any reason.
yep.
And so this person's not around to help this person get up to speed and on board. That's weird. That's
Yeah.
definitely weird. And then I have never, and I've been doing this for a long time, my friend, I have never heard about extending a probationary period. You're either in
Yeah.
or you're out.
Yeah.
Like the moment you got extended, for me, that's a big MOA.
Mhm.
Like
Oh, yeah.
the moment you got extended, I would be looking for a new job. Or when they said, am I going to be sticking around? And I don't know, or I'm not sure, whatever that quote was, like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, start looking for a new job
Oh,
right
yeah.
away.
Immediately.
I think it reminds me of what we hear so much where people go, but I'm so new. How's it going to look to employers? Nobody's going to want to hire me. It's going to look like something wrong. So I should try to stay here and make the best of it. No, you
Right.
shouldn't.
No.
No, you shouldn't.
Nope.
Start looking for a job really fast. There
Yep.
are ways to explain that, hey, you're getting signals,
Mhm.
vibes that this is not position isn't going to be around for a long time and you don't want to be caught off guard. I think that's a very
Mhm.
valid thing to say. So I would have jumped right on that
Yeah.
bandwagon. But talk about the blow. I just want to say the final blow and throw it back to you. Taking a personal day, and that's the reason that they don't like what's going on. Like I
Yeah,
can't even imagine that.
that's
That being
insult
your
to
last day.
injury. It's
Yeah,
like, you try all that, yeah, you put through all this effort and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I just need a break." And then to find out it's your last day, you're like, "Really?"
totally, totally. But
Um,
my
yeah.
own MOAs are definitely not being in the office in your first 90 days and
Mhm.
then extending you. I would have looked for a new job right away.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you in the same aspect of my MOA is, and I think this is where a lot of us, I can definitely test this, where a lot of employees, you don't, you brush it off.
Mhm.
But mine is trust your gut. Your moment of accountability is trust your gut. When when things in the process started to get complicated, you're moving halfway across the country. Of course, you're going to be tentative. You're going to say, okay, no, I'm going to make it work. And that's why this person, they dove in, and good for them, because you know what? That's at least going to translate. So if they accomplished all this stuff, they can relay that to the next employer, which is wonderful. But to your point, we constantly see this. Well, it's 6 months. They're just going to look at the time frame. They're just going to look at the time frame. Well, no, if you accomplished a lot of things in 6 months, I'm sorry, a campus wide event, let's talk about the quantifiable accomplishments you can put behind that. That's where, again, to your point, the next employer, keep phrasing that accordingly, they're not even going to care about the 6 months.
Totally.
But
Totally.
to me, it is one of those things. And of course, obviously, retrospect, much easier to say this in, but trusting your gut. If you think something is going wrong, something is probably going wrong or something is weird. And like to your point, they're not in the office. The managers, even in remote work world, I know we work 100% remote, but it is one of those things that you can see the communication if there's an effort being put forth. If
Yeah.
there's not, yeah, it's a little bit iffy. And
I
the
love
fact
it.
that you're killing yourself doing all this for what?
Yeah. I love your trust the gut. I think that's so accurate. I also like what you were saying about, I'm with you. If somebody applies to a job and I look and they've only been in a job for 6 months, but I see in the bullet points, like led a campus-wide event, and there's numbers. We always talk about quantifiable accomplishments and just how important those are to validate.
Yes.
If I see that, I know I'm not silly, stupid. I know something's going on there. I want to know what's going on. I want the
Right.
dirt. Like, why are you leaving after 6 months? Like, you're getting
Right.
stuff done. So, and
Yeah,
the other thing is,
exactly.
we tell people all the time, it is always easier to get a job when you have a job.
Yes.
Always easier. Unfortunately, hiring is discrimination, and the unemployed get discriminated against more.
Yeah.
So again, a reason to like trust the moment your gut's like sending off warning
Right.
signals, start looking.
Exactly. Just start the process because that process is already going to take a decent amount of time. So now it's like, if you can jumpstart it while you're still employed, great. And it's not always the case, but still, like, again, I think this is also what we talked about earlier in the episode, like AI, this idea of production. We're going to start to change the narrative for work where you're producing. And it's not like just this empty, oh, there's a body here in the office. Great. But they're cruising Facebook, they're on Instagram. Like, you don't know. But if you're producing, that shows what you're doing. That shows that there's, all this effort being put in. And again, that next hiring manager isn't going to think twice about seeing those numbers and being like, wait a minute, you were only here for 6 months. There's definitely a story.
100%. Yeah, we can validate. We work with recruiters all the time here, and we can tell you there's definitely a story. I'm going to make a really bold prediction, though.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Let's hear it.
110% sure that she's never going to donate to her alma mater.
Oh my God, no. Right?
Right? I mean, my gosh, after that experience, I don't think so.
Well, and if she's like any of the previous like my generation, where you took out a bunch of student loans and you're like, I'm in debt to you, and you fired me for some random reason. Cool. I can't wait to just never come back here.
Right. Absolutely. Lesson learned there for sure. Well, I think I'm so glad this person sent that in. Right. And hopefully anybody out listening, next time you're in this situation, I like Danny's advice, trust your gut. Just do it. But thank you. I can't believe these episodes go by so fast. I'm so excited about Revenge Career. I hope you all are really enjoying it, because seriously, your worst work situation can be the launch pad for amazing career success, especially if you're learning in environments like this one. So if you liked today, will you go over, just do us one favor, it's free. Go over, like our podcast, wherever you're listening it, put a comment in, help us get in more ears, because that's really important to us. We really want to reach as many people as we can.
And as you know, we're going to have it every single time in the description. If you've got a story that you're itching to share, we're all ears. There's a form, you just fill it out. We keep everything anonymous. We keep everything protected. That way, obviously, nothing kind of gets back about you or anything. But we want to dive in to the good, the bad, and obviously the jaw-droppingly ugly. And then just one last takeaway is just don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn and TikTok. Again, free things you can do to help us out. We appreciate it. Yeah, totally. We love you all. Remember, what we always say is if you want to win, you got to work it daily. So come back and visit us often. Okay, friends? All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. See you next time.